And so thank you very much, Ron. I was just about to say that. Everybody can click their got it button to say that this evening's proceedings are being recorded. And I would like to first start off with acknowledging my where we are having our meeting tonight on the lands of the Coast Salish peoples, and specifically the unceded territories of the Qualicum and Nanuus Sonawas First Nations, and we thank them for sharing their territory with us and allowing us to live, work, and play in such a beautiful part of the world. First off, could I have trustees just to acknowledge that Trustee Julie Austin will not be with us this evening. She has a family happening, and it's been a long time since her whole family was together. So we know that she would like to be with them, and so she is not with us this evening. So could I ask for an adoption of the agenda, trustees? A mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Trustee Godfrey. Seconded. Trustee Kurland. All those in favor? Carried. And we will then move to the approval of the consent agenda as in your package this evening. A mover and a seconder, please.
Could I need to just make a, I need to ask about something, otherwise I need to quit.
Can we move it and second it, and then you can ask?
Okay.
Move and seconder, please, to open discussion. Move Trustee Young, second Trustee Godfrey. Trustee Young.
Yeah, it's just that with the receipt of the action item, one of the things I don't want to lose track of, and it's not quite an action item, is the postponement of the codes of conduct to the November meeting.
Okay, I think
Okay.
think we're probably on it, but it could be recorded on that list as well. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
We're moving forward with that as well in a different way. So that being said, could I have approval, please, for the consent agenda? All those in favor? Carried. No delegations this evening. Business arising. And over to you now, Marinara Smith Teachers Association, Mr. Matt Wood. How are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Eve. Thank you for doing that. Before I begin, I just want to I didn't get a chance to thank Ms. Godfrey for her service as a trustee, and I wish her all the best moving forward and with all your adventures. And I know we talked boating at one time, so I wish you a successful boating trips in the future. Yeah, good evening, everybody. I first want to thank all the school board trustee candidates for their campaigns and thoughtful insights, especially around the MATA questionnaire that was sent out during the election period. It was great to send those off to our members for them to look over. I would also like to officially welcome all the returning trustees, Eve, Elaine, and Barry, and Julie, and our newly elected trustee, Carol Kellogg. Welcome to this term's Board of Trustees, and I thank each of them for their involvement, support, commitment, and advocacy toward public education. The importance of the role of trustees has always been at a high level. However, I do believe that today's political environment, I believe that the trustee role is of a very significant importance. Trustees have the power to set the priorities within the district through the budget process. These priorities can and will greatly impact how teachers operate within their classrooms, how they support their students, and how they function at their work site. It is easily understood that a teacher's work environment is the same as a student's learning environment. So let's ensure that the best environment is created by setting the right priorities. I truly look forward to working with each of the trustees in building the best education system, obviously within the confines of our Ministry of Education for District 69 during your term. In addition, I would hope that each trustee has been extended an invitation to visit, or in many cases, revisit the school or schools in each of their respective areas. I find this would be a great opportunity to see the school in action, especially after COVID. And I believe it might help when you have Mr. Jory reporting out on a strategic plan. You will have a fresh understanding of what's happening in our district. When Ms. Wilson presents student enrollment and class size numbers, you may be better able to visualize what those numbers mean and how they operate during a regular day. When Mr. Monroe provides us a facilities update, you will have visited the locations he is talking about. And when Mr. Amos provides you budgetary numbers, you will be able to see how and where the money is being spent. However, I would also like to request that trustees find the time in their schedules to visit all the schools in the school district 69. You'll find that each school has its own culture and feel, and that has been created and cultivated with the support of the district and school administration, and of course the teachers and DPAC, which are such huge parts of that culture. You'll probably notice that some schools have added extra classrooms, have changed program locations, and have new teachers. Please ask about resources and talk to teachers about what they are doing. Teachers love to share the learning that takes place in their classroom. I've been asked to ask you and urge to bring back the coffee talks that were done prior to COVID. Many teachers enjoyed that opportunity to share the successes as well as the challenges that they face every day. We've heard about the Student and Family Affordability Fund that Mr. Joy spoke about at our last meeting. I asked that you talk with principals and find out how those funds are being utilized in the schools. I will be notifying teachers about some expected visits from their trustees, and hoping that they'll connect with the PVP regarding the visits. They do look forward to you coming to schools in many side conversations that I've had. I want to remind everyone that on October 21st was a provincial Pro D Day. Madam members participated in many different events that day. It was an opportunity for teachers to find conferences that would provide growth in specific areas of curriculum or personal practice. Members attended conferences in person, online, or worked with colleagues at their school site. It is a day that the union has historically fought hard to be included in the school year, and is one where teachers, as trusted professionals, use to improve that practice. As always, MATA looks forward to continued collaborative spirit between the education stakeholders in District 69, and looks forward to finding collaborative solutions and seeing those decisions that are made change into measurable action across the district. And I'll be ending again today by saying how I ended last one. Remember, what is good for teachers is also good for students. Thank you, everybody, for my time today.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. And I too would like to resurrect Coffee with Trustees. So I think that's fun that you support the idea. So I've got the coffee urn at the ready. It's just in the garage. We can do this. But yes, it was a nice way to visit schools, and liaison schools will be assigned after oath, our oath of office and things like that, so that it can be out there. The community is to invitations to trustees to do all the visiting from principals and vice principals to the sites. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
QP, Ms. Brown, Teresa.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on the traditional territory of the Snonaz First Nation. We'd like to extend our congratulations to the successful candidates as trustees of the Board of Education. Welcome, both new and returning, to our district. We look forward to working with you. We'd also like to wish a farewell to Ms. Godfrey. It has been wonderful working with you, and your support is much appreciated. We'd like to announce that a provincial framework agreement has been reached between the unions representing BC's 40,000 school support workers and the British Columbia Public School Employers Association. Our local thanks the K-12 Bargaining Committee for all their hard work. The K-12 President's Council represents locals in school districts across British Columbia, and these locals represent school support workers, including education assistants, school secretaries, custodian caretakers, Indigenous support workers, child, youth, family support workers, IT workers, library technicians, Strong Start facilitators, early childhood educators, trades and maintenance workers, and bus drivers. The next step is local bargaining, and we look forward to some successful negotiating with a positive outcome. On October 21st, we had our provincial Pro-D Day. Support staff enjoyed a full day of sessions that will enhance their abilities in the workforce. Some of these sessions included bus passenger emergency safety demos, physical literacy, mindfulness and resiliency, and much more. There was a separate session at our Winchelsea location that offered nonviolent crisis intervention. This session had a focus on de-escalation skills. Thank you to our district for offering such a valuable session amidst CUPE's Nationals campaign to stop violence in the workplace. Local 3570 is preparing for the upcoming November 11th Remembrance Day, and we've donated wreaths to our local Royal Canadian Legions, Branch 49, Mount Arrowsmith, Branch 211, Bowser, and Branch 76, Qualicum Beach, lest we forget. We'd also like to wish everyone a safe and happy Halloween. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. Appreciate that. That's great. DPAC. Ms. Carey and I don't see Angel, but Jessica will probably chime in if.
Angel sends her regards that she could not be here. DPAC has completed their elections last week and are pleased to share their 2023 executive team as follows. Angel and myself returning as president and vice president, secretary Jessica, treasurer Brenda Fisher, director Andrea Button, and director and FAC rep Natalie Morris. We thank these volunteers, parents, and guardians who raised their hand for being part of our awesome SD69 community. DPAC is looking forward to working with individual school PACs this year, and like our Constitution states, engage, empower, and support parents and guardians for the success of our learners. With the recent local elections, we've seen how we can be a district voice to advocate for our children and what's important in our families. DPAC would like to thank the board and all the trustee candidates who participated in our Meet the Trustees Town Hall. Going into the election cycle, we weren't sure what to expect, and holding a town hall for trustee candidates turned out to be a fantastic idea. Almost all the candidates participated in our DPAC questionnaire and town hall. One takeaway was noting how the school district candidates are not included in the city organized town halls, although they are on the same ballot. So we will make sure to remember this 4 years from now, and see you at our next town hall.
Thanks, Carrie. That's 4 years. So okay, that means you're here. That means you're sticking around. Okay, I have no public questions or comments that have been written submitted. That's kind of something that's old in our agenda we might have to look at. Action items, call upon our Associate Superintendent Jillian Wilson to do the district instructional calendar revision. Over to you, Ms. Wilson.
You'll see that in your agenda package, and this is something that the ministry has asked us to do based on the change to the calendar for September the 19th, which was in recognition of Queen Elizabeth. So we have been asked to bring it forward, recognize it in our calendars, and there has been an amendment to the School Act to make sure that we're not changing the instructional minutes. They have been reduced by that day that we missed. So I present that as is.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. So trustees, could I have a mover and seconder to approve the revised district instructional calendar as presented? Trustee Young, seconded trustee Kurland. Any questions, trustees? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. All right, over into information items and the fun. Superintendent's report, Mr. Jory, Superintendent Jory.
Thank you, Chair Flynn. Greetings, everyone. Squale. Finally, a little bit of rain. We're now into fall and the school year is well underway. Last year, we were talking about the FSA weather bomb, what boards would do or not do with the vaccine mandate decision. This year, we're talking about assessment dinner series, strategic planning surveys, and observable impact. I picked this year. Speaking of strategic planning, the surveys for parents and guardians have gone out and come back. These surveys asked respondents to remark on our strengths and stretches, their ideas for what skills, knowledge, and attitudes our students should demonstrate when they leave our school system, and also to give the board feedback on their new draft vision, mission, and values. So far, we've had about 130 responses in total, and I will leave the links open for another week or so in case anyone else still wants to add their 2 cents. My next job will be to take the strengths and stretches and profile of a learner input form that into themes, and then use those themes to help design the questions and conversation starters for upcoming focus groups at schools and work sites, which will start in a couple of weeks' time. Adding to all this information gathering will be contributions from the Indigenous Equity Scan, with our next session happening November 4th at Qualicum Commons, and also my new curriculum surveys from last June. In our next superintendent and trustee session, we'll take a look at the responses for our vision, mission, and values, and determine whether we'll make any changes to the draft work we've developed so far before bringing them back to the next public meeting for our brand new board to potentially approve. All very exciting. Speaking of the new board, I will echo my stakeholder partners in congratulating our returning members, welcoming again to our new trustee, Carol Kellogg. I was talking to a friend of mine in another school district in Arrow Lakes, actually, by way of Burnaby, who asked that I pass on a hello, Mrs. Kellogg, to you, noting there must be some kind of inside story. Perhaps you can share another time. We're all looking forward to getting to know you as we work together for the next 4 years. Thank you also to departing trustee Laura Godfrey for your great work and wise counsel while serving. It was so nice as a new arrival to district to have another familiar face here. When I came, sorry, somebody's phoning me. Imagine the odds of that. Okay, there we go. For your great work and wise counsel while serving. It's great as a new arrival to have another familiar face here. When I arrived, and someone who spoke the same language of learning and governments that I was familiar with, as many of you know, Laura and I had a chance to work together for several years over in a previous district, number 48. Please enjoy the next stage of your life. It's well deserved. Actually, we're all mad at you and a little bit jealous, but we'll have to get over that. I'll also mention that the Family Affordability Act has hit the ground, with school spending at $57,366 exactly as of today. Everyone remembers that the province put some $60 million out to school districts to help provide relief to parents and guardians in this post-COVID era of rising costs. And the share for our school district was $448,000. School principals have consulted with their PACs and are using this funding to relieve cost pressures in the areas of fees, field trips, and food, as I mentioned before. I've asked PVP to make sure that they give regular updates to their parents and guardians regarding their spending, and to help track the impact that this fund is having across the school district. So we can look for that information in the coming weeks, months, and I think really for the balance of the year. It will be interesting for the balance of the year. There are a number of other updates for you regarding enrollment, budget, learning technology, and more, which the team will provide next. As I often do, I want to say thank you to all of our staff for their hard work and enthusiasm this October. I've been out in schools more frequently this year, and it's great to see staff and students smiling and engaged in their work and in their learning. And as encouraged by Mr. Matt Woods, absolutely, it's really time to get out there, and I would encourage the trustees to pay a visit to their schools and to all the schools and see the great work that's going on, and just get a little context for the conversations that will be ongoing over the course of the year. It's great to be seen, and it's great to see things. So much learning to be done when you're out there and listening in and just, you know, taking it all in. It's very important. Feels positive out there, folks. Looks like we're back on track, and that is really because of everyone out there in the system. So thank you to everyone. Great job. Haisepka. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mr. Jory. Seeing no hands or questions, trustees, of Mr. Jory's report this evening, then we can move on to educational program update, and Associate Superintendent Ms. Wilson and Director of Instruction Mr. Terpstra. Take the lead from whoever wants to go first.
Good evening, everyone. That'll be me. Yeah, just a few updates on things we've talked about at Ed Committee or at the end of last year. And first of all, our Spaces assessment platform onboarding is going super well. We have 30 classes, 151 families engaged, 500 students on board. We have a lead trained in all schools, and we've been doing school presentations and supporting teachers to get involved as they so choose. And I always add the caveat to parents that next year's phase-in rollout is that while you may become engaged, and we actually talked at DPAC and sent out some resources there for parents that want to find out how to engage on that aspect. But right now we want to just focus on the kids in classrooms for this year. My Blueprint, which is our career ed side of that same platform, we've in-serviced all of our counselors, our admin, career ed staff, and career ed teachers. And again, we have 39 teachers on board for that. Our next big part of that is actually just focusing on the 2 high schools. This program right now is just solely for the high schools, though it will have aspects in elementary as we go forward in the future. And yeah, we're just getting prepared. And a shout out to Leslie Rowan, principal of technology, and also Greg Lewis supporting us in these platforms at the district level so that we can make it great for everyone. Another update is Ed Plan Insight. You'll remember that from last year. That was our new data platform. We have, again, we have our provincial data FSAs to 2020, numeracy 10 to 2021. We have district summative, also known as report cards, and I'll talk to that a little, but basically summative marks of all our K to 7s from last June, and then high school students from last June. And then this fall, we're adding with our teaching and learning team grade-wide rights for grades 3 and 5s across the districts, and a numeracy 6 assessment. And so then that'll bring us to the new year where we'll start really putting this in the hands of teachers so they can get a great snapshot of their class profiles as we move forward. And learning updates, I just want to touch base on that. And for those that are new to our group here, this is commonly and formerly known as report cards. And as people know, there's a new reporting order that comes into effect next September 2023. Right now, we're working as a district to look at its impacts and interpretations for how we will make it happen. Though one of the great news is that School District 69 is really ahead of the assessment curve, and it won't have a big impact on us like it will in some other districts. However, one of the changes that we are making this year is we, in K to 7, we moved from an SS DAS learning update to My Education update. This past week, working with Principal Mark McInnes, who's co-chair of the Assessment Evaluation Communicating Student Learning Committee with me, and Leslie Rowan and Brenda Fleming, we actually found that the MyEd report card not only looks as sharp and better than the SS DAS report card, but it's also going to do everything that teachers are used to. And so right now I'm actually presenting to 2 schools tomorrow, and we feel this is actually going to be simpler access to do the same great reporting on learning to homes that we have been used to in School District 69. Then the last thing I want to talk about was learning, which is really the important stuff. As Superintendent Jory mentioned, we had our dinner series last Monday night. Again, 70 educators, part 3 of 4 in a series with Katie White. We were focusing on the power of flexibility and how we engage students, and also in how we let them show their learning in the curricular competencies. This Thursday evening, the series Walking Alongside with Monique Gray Smith and Joe Corona. Responding is really our district's opportunity to respond to the calls of action and learn how to be allies as we move forward. And then I lastly will just echo what Matt Wood said about the provincial Pro-D and also Ms. Brown in the QP Pro-D days that were well attended, and there was lots of good learning going on all over the place. And that's my report.
Thanks, Mr. Terpstra. I see hands up from Trustee Young. Trustee Young?
Yeah, sorry, Rudy, I didn't catch the grade-wide rights are grade 3 and
5.
5. So are those going to feed somehow into our like triangulation around FSAs? Is that the intent? Yeah.
Yeah. What the intent of that is, those are 2 grades that aren't captured by FSAs, and so yes, definitely triangulating data, but also getting a different view of
Mhm.
our student learning.
Thanks.
Mr. Kurland.
And you mentioned a grade 6 exam too, didn't you?
Yeah, well, these are assessments, and yeah, numeracy for grade 6s.
Okay, so it isn't just FSA with grade 4 to 7. We have other
Yeah, and
inputs.
these are led by our teaching and learning team teachers. They prepare the assessments, work with our teachers to do them at that grade in all schools. And then, but the great thing is we bring the teachers back, look at the data, and then go actually with action into the classroom, say,
Okay.
hey, our grade 4s need some work on fractions, and then planning how we're going to improve their use of fractions, as an example.
Thanks, Mr. Terpstra. That's great. Over to you, Ms. Wilson.
Just a couple of things. One of the things that you talked about, trustees going into schools and seeing what's going on and learning is happening in our schools. I strongly encourage you to take a visit by Nanoose Bay Elementary School. And right now, that's a school that's weaving in everything that you heard Superintendent Jory talk about and our Director of Instruction talk about. It's happening and it's in action. When you talk about truth and reconciliation, when you talk about creating common themes in numeracy, and it's all based on the evidence through their class reviews. And we had their principal, Kevin McKee, share with principals and vice principals some of the work that he's been doing with his staff from the beginning of the year to where we're at now. And it is something to feel very proud of. So if not that I'm favoring any site, because we all are doing great work and good things, but if there's one site that's really demonstrating and weaving it in into everything that they're doing, it's a site to look at right now. Just want to talk about a couple things. I did go to the Ministry of Safe Schools coordinators meeting yesterday. I always come back from those places and thankful that I live and work in the place that I do, listening to some of the troubles that they have in other districts. And so I feel really privileged. I did send a note to our principals and vice principals today talking about we really know our kids, and it's because of our teachers, it's because of our QP, our support staff, it's because of our principals and vice principals that do look at a trauma-informed lens to be able to support our students, and also what we call a multilateral look to see where they're at, and not a lateral look, just looking one-dimensional. We look to see how we best wrap around that support. Also, our community does that, and I feel blessed that we work in a community where even today, when we had our community network meeting, we're talking about how we support our families in our system. Not all districts have that. We've worked hard to get it, and it's paying off dividends in terms of how we are supporting families and students in our system. So feel blessed when I come back from them around where we are and where other districts are facing all kinds of difficulties. Want to share one highlight I had today, actually. I went into a grade 6-7 class, and they were doing one of their ADST sessions, and the brave young teacher had taken on sewing with them. And there were young grade 6-7s of both all genders engaged in sewing. It brought back a memory of mine, and one young person was doing some blanket stitches and not quite looped it through, and so I hadn't pulled the blanket stitch, so I got to show my talent of doing a blanket stitch, which I have none. But you should have seen the engagement in students. 2 young boys that I chatted, and I said, "What are you making?" "We're making some pillows." "Why are you making pillows?" "I want it on my bed." Like I'd asked a really dumb question. So really engaged in their learning and looking at how they're doing ADST in our system. I was in another class, and I just asked the student where they'd just come from, and they'd done some coding. And I said, "What do you think about the coding, and how do you like it, and why are you doing it?" They could talk to me about why they did it. And she made a comment then saying, "But you know what, I don't really like it. So I'm looking forward to when I do my next part and it changes classes next week and where I go into next. So I'm looking forward to that." So we're exposing our students to things that they may or may not like, and it's working and they're enjoying it. So really positive feedback from them. Pleased to say, and I know it did come out in the OLB OBLT report that we applied for our licensing in conjunction with OBLT to meet the requirements for the ministry's new childcare spaces at Arrowview. And so that's signed off and finalized. We had to make sure that we had 43 new spaces. The new building itself provided 16 new spaces. So we had to make sure the other new spaces came out of after school programming. And so that is licensed and ready to go. President from Matter and I are working on our next SEAC meeting, which is our committee that is part of our collective agreement. And it does look at providing recommendations to the board around things around resources and curriculum. So it is the Curriculum Implementation Advisory Committee. So we're working on our agenda for that and really looking forward to putting things coming from our strategic planning through that particular committee to look at how we best support our whole system on that. Want to acknowledge DPAC around their White Hatter and the digital media session that they put on. Again, after being at the Safe to Schools conference, our session yesterday, digital media is so important to make sure our adults know where our children are and what they're doing. And so really hats off to DPAC for bringing them in, and not just once, but for a series of learning so our parents can be updated and on the technology that changes as quickly as you finish the session, I must say. So that's my update for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Wilson. Are there any questions, trustees? Yes, White Hatter is very apropos these days, as we all sort of have received a new experience with digital anything and everything. Seeing no hands, I'll move then back to Ms. Wilson again for the enrollment report. And the remote enrollment report is on page 23 of your agenda package, folks.
So this is Mr. Amos and I, both of our work putting it together. I think we've spoke about it at the last board meeting in terms of where we were coming in. And we also discussed it a little bit at the Ed committee meeting. 2 points to note. The recommendations around some boundary changes for Springwood. We acknowledge, and you've heard Superintendent Jory talk about this before, it worked. You'll see that Springwood and Oceanside are very similar in numbers. These are old numbers now because we actually have had a little bit of growth both at Springwood and at Oceanside with our current numbers. These are the numbers that go into what we call our 1701, which is our September 30th count, which is the count that we get funded on. So you'll see where we've had a decline at Springwood. That was around the boundary pieces, but we've had an increase at Oceanside, and we also moved our primary learning community to Oceanside Elementary School. You'll also see in the report that we have right-sided our alternate program, and you know through conversations through the Ed committee that our referral process is different for our alternate program now, and we're going through our district-based team when we have a student that is being referred for our alternate program. We've also done some restructuring. I would like our principal, Ms. Autumn Taylor, to present at one of our education committees around the work that they are doing there. And it would be really great to hear from some of our students. So I will save the rest of the story for our students and our principal who's done some great work to be able to support what students' needs are and how we can support their learning. But you can see that our numbers have gone down there. The other area that we're working on right now is we want to build success for our students that are working online. And so we are again helping students make better selections based on how they learn and how much of an independent learner they are. We were seeing a lot of students not necessarily complete the courses online, and so we are right sizing some of that. You'll see that our projections have not been met for our KEEP program. We also are working with the activation dates versus when their numbers in terms of they're there, but they're not taking the course yet. And at the Ed committee, I talked a little bit about some of our students maybe wanting to take 3 courses on KEEP, but they choose to do 1 at a time versus all 3 at the same time. We don't get funded until they've actually done more than 10% of their activation on the online course. So you'll see our numbers there. It has been corrected. We are down 1 student. 1 student did not come to our school on September the 28th. They went to another school because our numbers were counted on 29th. The computers had not said hello and goodbye to each other in their incoming district. So when we actually get our 1701 numbers, in terms of the dollar amount, it will be based on 4,298 students, not 4,299.1 students. I'm not sure if there's any questions about the enrollment report.
Thanks, Ms. Wilson. I can always think that I wonder how you get 0.1 of a student, but I know it's at the upper grades, they take courses, and it's not an FTE count. Trustee Young.
Yeah, me again. Just wondering how the enrollment is in the primary learning community, because I think it's a great program and want to continue it.
Well, yes, and I actually just had my meeting with Madam President about our non-enrolling ratios and our class sizes and things like that. And we were sitting at 21 at one point, which was a oops, that should not have happened. And it was one student had not been attending and not coming to the program, and another student went in before they had taken the other one out. We're full, and so that is at 20. And there are constantly people looking at the program, so that's great. Yeah.
That's good news. Great
Good
news.
news.
Yeah, super. Okay, seeing no further questions from trustees, I will move us to the class size report and Ms. Wilson again.
And so you'll see here, this is our class size report for classes that are over 30, and we have 4 classes, 2 at Bolinas and 2 at Qualicum Secondary School. We also have some other classes that might be over, and again, this is work that we do with our local president, but they might have 2 teachers assigned to them, but they work together. For example, we have 2 PE classes that are in a gym, but they're with 2 teachers, and they work together. But these are the classes that are over that will we work on remedy for these teachers. You'll see one is music. We have life science there, and this is the count on the 30th. One a career life education, and then a digital media that's sitting at 31. These are one-offs, what we call, where they might not be another option for a child to take that either another semester or in that semester. And so it's our counselors doing great work to try and make timetables fit for students based on what they need or want for graduation. So you'll see that presented before you in terms of the class size report.
Any questions, trustees? All right, seeing none, Mr. Amos, your final report on trustee elections.
Great, thank you, Chair Flynn. Yes, so officially you can see their declaration that our Chief Elections Officer, Dennis Brown, signed off on the declaration of official election results. So I'm pleased to report in voting area A, E. Flynn was re-elected. In voting area F, Julie Austin was acclaimed in that area. In voting area G, Carol Kellogg and Elaine Young. Elaine was re-elected, and Carol Kellogg, as mentioned previously, is new to our board, so congratulations to them. And in voting area H, Barry Curlin was re-elected into that area. So congratulations to all, and a bit of a bon voyage to Laura, but once again, she was a wonderful addition to our board, knowing that she came from a previous district to us. And in light of that, we're again just acknowledging, because BCSTA, as they prepare for the incoming boards and the outgoing boards, they send out to school districts some acknowledgement on their behalf for the service recognitions of some trustees, of many of the trustees. And so I'm proud to let folks know that obviously BCSTA has sent out to the board office a certificate and a pin for recognition of their service to public education and local governance. And so Elaine Young, thank you very much for serving two terms and now going into her 3rd. Julie Austin and Barry Curlin have served 3 terms and now going into their 4th. Laura Godfrey, 4 terms, 1 with us and 3 with Sea to Skies, School District 68, and E. Flynn, the senior, if you want. I don't know if there's seniority on the board, but anyways, Elaine Flynn with her 6 terms that she served on behalf of the community. So again, thank you very much for your services, and again, a bit of a bon voyage to Laura as she goes and takes on other adventures.
That is certainly challenging adventures indeed, and very exciting. Thank you, Mr. Amos, and oh, I don't know if I long in the tooth. Okay, Education Committee of the Whole report, and I stood in for Trustee Godfrey for the last Committee of the Whole report. I'm bringing to the table this evening the final approval of the Qualicum Secondary student trip to Europe, which will take place from March 20th to April 1st, 2023. I would like to move approval, final approval of this field trip. Could I have a seconder, please, trustees? Thank you, Trustee Godfrey. Are there any comments, trustees, or further? Trustee Young.
I have a statement from Trustee Austin that she's asked me to read into the report, and I can also send it for the minutes. So, so Karen can relax for a minute.
Okay, just a quick second here for folks, if I could give a preamble to this.
Yeah.
This is not part of our practices as the board to have an absentee trustee give a position. And so trustees, I acknowledge, and we all acknowledge, that you will be unable to ask for further information or query the statement because the trustee making the statement is not here, it's not present. So, but we do want to read it into the minutes so that Trustee Austin's views are in our recording this evening. So go ahead, please, Trustee Young.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank the board for allowing me the leeway to put forward these ideas for consideration despite my absence from tonight's board meeting. I will not be discussing the board's commitment to climate action. That is already on the table. I would like to address the concept of financial equitable access. I cannot think of another program or event that is district sanctioned that does not have some sort of subsidy or financial help. Music and sports programs and their associated trips, though heavily financed through fundraising efforts, have also have financial aid available when necessary. The ROAMS program can end up costing students for trips and certifications, but again, has contingencies in place over and above the fundraising to help students financially. This financial assistance ensures that all students can truly consider these programs and events. Though the box on the request for preliminary approval has been checked for this European trip that states, in quotes, equal access to all students, I have to question whether this trip is truly equal access. Simply being offered the opportunity does not make a trip like this equitable. Though I understand that fundraising takes place and many students use money saved from working after-school jobs, the financial hardship is too great for many students to even contemplate this trip. Especially in today's inflationary times, many students help contribute to the family income. Single-parent families, low-income families struggle every day to make ends meet, and the idea of $4,000 for 13 days is a non-starter. As a board-sanctioned trip and climate action seen as a separate discussion, then conditions like other board-sanctioned programs and events should be in place to ensure true accessibility for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee Young. Trustee Kurland.
Yeah, thanks. The only way I'm going to approve this trip is if the kids and Jared agree to go and visit Laura Godfrey and spend the night on her boat, all of them. That's the condition I'm voting for.
They're sort of close, but I don't know how close they'll get.
It's probably worth it, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, she could give them a good tour. Are there any other further comments, trustees? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. And thank you very much, trustees. And thank you, Trustee Austin, for weighing in. Policy Committee of the Whole, Trustee Young. 2 tonight, only 2. Not really policies, they're admin procedure updates. You're on mute, you're on mute, you're on mute.
Get this line out, I'm on mute. I'm gonna throw it over to Peter first, because I'm hunching he might want to do a bit of an introduction. Peter, if that's not true, just let me know and I'll move the motions.
I'll be very brief, but thank you. Yes, we've done a tremendous amount of work as a school district over the last 4 years, only the last year, including myself. But as we've discussed many times in these meetings, complete tooth to tail overhaul of our policy manual. So this is really the next logical step to go back to the APs and make sure that they're in line. And of course, a lot of the work that I've done, and of course, APs are staff work, is to try to trim the APs down to something that's a little bit more manageable, remove some of the information from its public facing position as an AP into other manuals and documents that are really staff related, and just try to keep everything that's public and lean and make sure that it's in the public interest and that it should be accessible and kind of so the information that needs to be found can be found. So that's the first, this is the first section of work. Basically cut about 40 pages. Some of that reduction you'll see in the changes here that are being approved tonight, hopefully. Or sorry, yes, to be accepted tonight. Sorry, forgive me.
Yeah. Okay. And
You want to take the lead on the motions then before us tonight?
sorry.
If you want to take the lead now on the motions
Yeah.
for us tonight.
And I'll speak a bit to process here because as Superintendent Jory spoke, this is the work of our operations staff, primarily the superintendent and management. So this is a different approval process from policy. Policy goes through 3 different readings, et cetera, et cetera. With administrative procedures, it's brought to the board just for acceptance. So that is what we're doing. That the Board of Education of School District 69 Qualicum receive the revisions to the administrative procedures from sections 100 through 500 as presented.
And as you'll see, that is a large chunk of your package this evening, pages 31 to 96. So folks will be able to read through that if they have. And could I have a seconder, please? Trustees. Thank you, Trustee Kurland. Are there any questions, trustees? We did walk through this at the policy committee, and so seeing none, I'll ask all in favor. Carried. And the second part of the policy committee of the whole meeting, Trustee Young.
That the Board of Education of School District 69 Qualicum approve rescinding the standalone administrative procedure, physical and health education curriculum provisions for alternate delivery of instruction.
Moved by Trustee Young, seconded by Trustee Godfrey. Are there any questions, trustees, regarding rescinding? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carry. Thank you very much, Trustee Young, and thank you very much as a member of the board for your fine stewardship of all of the policy reviews over the last 4 years. You had a timeline, you presented a work plan, and stuck to it. This is the work of the board. The work of the board is kind of under a couple of headings, budget, but the other biggie is policy. So we will start again at the beginning, but thank you very much, Trustee Young, for steering us through this quagmire and keeping us on task for the last 4 years, because we did have a lag before that. So we needed to catch up. Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole is chaired by myself, and we received this evening, or I wish to propose that we receive the PRISM report. Many people who attended the Finance and Operations Committee would have heard how it encompassed and what it encompassed and what its recommendations would be, and the fact and that we have incorporated these some of these things in our annual facilities grants going forward. And of course, there is more work to come, but this was the baseline analysis of the schools presented and how we can continue to optimize and in the long term, reduce our hydro consumption and leaning to greener schools. So I propose that the Board of Education receive the reports by Prism Engineering from the facilities investigations conducted at Oceanside Elementary, Qualicum Beach Elementary, Springwood Elementary, Balena Secondary, and Qualicum Secondary as part of BC Hydro's continuous optimization of commercial building programs as presented. Could I have a seconder, please? Second, Trustee Kurland. Trustees, are there any questions? This will be ongoing work for a number of years for us to achieve the expectations of the report. And so you will see it addressed probably on a quite regular basis at the Finance and Operations Committee of the whole. Seeing no questions, all those in favor, trustees? Thank you very much. And to the other proposal, which was presented, Mr. Domes was here originally, and I can't see him now. This came to.
Hello.
Oh,
I'm here.
Oh.
I'm one of the whale tails.
Oh, the whale tails. There you are. Oh, that's usually Karen. Thank you, Mike, for joining us, and we appreciate your presentation to the Finance and Operations Committee.
Welcome.
The recommendation coming out of the committee was that the Board of Education request staff to investigate further the costs associated with the Fitness for All proposal by the Qualicum Community Education and Wellness Society. The genesis of this, or the furthering of this, would be that the request by the Qualicum Community Education and Wellness Society is that they receive a room at Qualicum Commons at no charge to house equipment, and then also to conduct some programs in the gym area, as well as probably static activity in the room as well. So I would move the motion to get it on the floor. Could I have a seconder, please? Seconder, Trustee Young. I think I'd like to ask Mr. Amos to give us a synopsis of the classroom. I believe it's room 12 that could be available, and the cost to us that we would be providing at no charge to Oceanside or Qualicum Community Education and Wellness Society. Mr. Amos.
Thanks, Chair Flynn. Yes, so just for information, yes, it is room 12 in that building. It's for those that are familiar with the site, it's the room that's just that's just right of the library meeting room. It's a room that's vacant presently. It was originally being used by RDN, but they vacated it, and so we have sort of held on to it as an alternate meeting space. So it is currently sitting vacant or empty at this point. The going rate that we would get at $13.50. So our going rate is $13.50 per square foot that we generally charge commercial ventures in that sense. So the going rate's about $964.15 before taxes, and so the net savings for any company or any organization that would be taking, or if we would be passing on that savings to them, is about $12,148 per year, including GST.
In looking forward, and I guess the conundrum that we face with this facility is the ongoing expenses of upkeep, most concerning of which was reviewed at this meeting as well by our facilities and operations director, Mr. Monroe, is the condition of the air conditioning and heat on the roof and the condition of the roof, period. We did upgrade the building to accommodate fire and sprinkler requirements by the city or town of Qualicum. It would appear that educational facilities do not require the same fire and egress and sprinkling and things like that, a commercial building would, and so we are now basically in a commercial status, and that upgrade was done so that we are in compliance. But on an ongoing basis, and it may be somewhat tenuous as to how we make ends meet to afford to make the repairs that are required at Qualicum Commons. Trustee Young, you'd like to weigh in?
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit confused. And sorry, it's a process confusion again. The motion was that we request staff to investigate further the costs associated. So have we just received that report? Like, or is there a further investigation?
No, that you received the information that this would cost or we would be giving this organization a $12,148 relief on the cost of the long-term vision is to be not having to pay this, although that is not how the motion reads this evening.
Right.
This was to give the board the information of the implications of this. To pass it would be that you've received the information and you would wish to, and I think we should go back to finance and operations because there's more work to be done on facilities as we go forward. So really the essence of it is that to receive the information, and if we have any further questions, I think that we should be able to speak to those tonight so staff can prepare for the next finance and operations meeting, where I think we need to really ascertain whether this is a feasible request. Mr. Amos.
If you would entertain a sort of a friendly amendment, you could sort of request staff to investigate the implications of the proposal. And then it goes beyond just it goes beyond the costs associated.
I would accept that amendment.
Okay, myself as a mover, I would accept, because this is part of the broader facilities plan and sort of some of the bigger long-term issues that we're facing in the district, and I
Would
think
accept that also.
Yeah.
you accept that also. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Kurland.
So we're not voting on whether we're going to approve Mike's request or not. We're just voting on looking at it further, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
This has a sort of a longer term implication, given the status of the facility that we have within our non-educational buildings and costs associated with their upkeep, which I think a clarion call has come from our Director of Operations, Mr. Monroe. The
Clarion call. You mean, wake up, you guys.
Yeah, so I know, Mike, the original quest was to go straight to forfeiting this, but I think the board needs to do more work to understand what that whole facility entails going forward, and what we, as Mr. Amos says, to investigate further the implications.
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, I mean, thanks for letting me listen in on your inner workings. In the background, if some of you can see, this is just a bit of a clear vision as to what we feel we need in our community. It's simply a picture that I'm sitting within of Move Adaptive. It's a gym that is within the Victoria confines, and they're offering folks with different abilities the access to health promoting physical fitness. So thanks for considering and continuing to consider, and we'll await your thoughts.
thanks, Mike. Appreciate that as a backdrop to our discussions, because it is important. So with a friendly amendment agreed to by most present, request staff to investigate further the implications associated with the Fitness for All proposal. Any further questions, trustees? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. We are now further to reports from representative organizations, and there are none. Trustee items, none.
Yeah, there are. Sorry, Eva, I put it in the chat. I've got a couple of announcements.
Okay, it's now
Okay.
trustee
Good.
announcements.
One is we have Spooktacular coming up on the 27th at Storybook Village at the Qualicum Commons, and it starts at, I think it's 4:30. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but maybe Jillian will just nod her head. It's a fabulous event for our young learners. And if you have a chance, get out and take a look at the buildings, and they're all decorated, and there are community folks around talking about their programs. A fabulous event. So that's one thing. And the other thing coming up in November 25th, will be a benefit dance for the Oceanside Community Track Society. So if you want a track here in Oceanside and you like to dance and you want to hear, so far it's Kim Longmuir and I being doo-wop girls, please buy tickets. I'll get the posters out to folks as soon as I can.
Thanks for the infomercials from Trustee Young. So public question period. Is there any, oh, Trustee Kurland?
Yeah, I just think that I would like to move that we find the funds to purchase a, well, it can be gilded paintbrush to give to Trustee Young for her incredible work in painting the bridge of policy these last 4 years. She needs to be recognized for the work that she's done with painting this bridge. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Trustee Kurland. Very well put. Painting the bridge. Yep. It's a big bridge too. It's a long bridge. Send me the poster to Sherry and any other comments from our public question period. Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Sorry, I have to boldly just ask a question. You can see in my background there the bike that I've shared with some of you. There's another one that's a tandem side by side. Both of these bikes cost about the same price as the annual cost of a room at the commercial rates. So we just wanted to share as cues, just a reminder to all of you folks who may not have yet seen the bikes in action, that we've donated these for about 4 years to the school at no cost. And it would be silly of me not to mention that as you go into your deliberations, and just, looking at reciprocal goodwill and how our organization has jumped alongside the school division. And we love to see the smiles building in these kids, and would welcome the kids into the idea of a accessible, universally accessible adaptive gym as well. So the partnership would be continuing to be mutually health promoting for the young and old.
Yep, Mike, thank you for
All
that. I have
You're
seen,
welcome.
I have seen the ones
Yeah.
that sit in Qualicum Beach Elementary School, and the smiles on their faces. Thank you
Good.
for that.
Okay, take care.
Ms. Comer. You're on mute or something's happened. No.
Debbie, is your question the question you put in the chat?
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
I haven't got
So
there.
I very quickly answered Debbie. Her question was around the policy, the admin procedure that was rescinded. Is it going somewhere else? And the answer is no, because it identifies a particular area of curriculum, and actually there's alternate delivery for any curricular program. For example, if you have an Olympic athlete or something like that, often they'll have an alternate delivery of their physical education program. Sometimes my sister was a high-ranking math tutor in Vancouver for a while, and she would create alternate delivery programs for her math students. So it's within the realm of of people to do that. So why it identifies a particular area of study is beyond me.
Didn't want to single out one domain of learning, and the curriculum is the essence. Yeah. I see no further hands raised. I think if we all had a glass of wine, we would be raising it to Trustee Laura Godfrey for yeoman service to be up at, well, you know, it's 3 a.m, but you happen to be in Amsterdam or definitely close to it. Onward to your next adventure. Thank you for your service to SD 69. I certainly have appreciated, as many of the trustees tonight have shared with you, and best wishes. Good luck, and may your barge not have a hole in it, and you get to sail through many channels and canals, and keep us posted. You have to get a little newsletter out to us occasionally as to how you're doing with pictures. So could I ask Trustee Godfrey for her final act to adjourn our meeting this evening? Trustee Godfrey, move to adjourn. Thank you very much. Thanks, folks. Thanks, Laura. Wonderful to see you. Sweet dreams. Thanks, folks.